We're starting Unit 6, and it's all about the changes in our ecosystems. So we've been talking about ecology last 6 weeks, and ecology is just that study of the living organisms with the environment and where they live with the abiotic and the biotic. Have you ever wondered how an island was formed? Or why ponds sometimes fill up with land, like in this picture here? You are going to need your science notebook and a pencil. Get ready to write down your notes. Watch the video twice and make sure you get everything. Primary succession means first. So this always begins with an area that is without soil. So a new ecosystem is going to be created. This new ecosystem starts with either a volcanic eruption, like in the ocean, and that picture's right over here. That's how new islands are formed. That's how the Hawaiian Islands were formed. Or you could also have a melting glacier, a big sheet of ice that melts and it starts to uncover hidden bare rock, and then ecosystems will go and start to grow there. And that's called primary succession, when life starts to slowly grow in a brand new place. The species that first start to grow at a primary succession are called pioneer species. Pioneer species would be like seen right here in the second picture. It's the first species to grow and live on the rock bed. They don't need a lot of soil and they don't need a lot of water, and they can grow on very shallow areas. So primary succession is the development of a new ecosystem over a slow, gradual change. We would start with your bare rock, and then you would slowly get your pioneer species move in, and then your moss and lichen are what they're called. We're going to talk about that next. And then you get some grasses. That moss and lichen break up the rocks, causing soil to form. Also, your mosses and grasses start to die off, decompose, and that adds nourishment into the soil until then small grasses can form, and then leaves, and so you get slowly an ecosystem evolved where there was not one before. So that's the start over here at A, and this is the finish by D, and that can happen over decades or hundreds of years. And usually with primary succession, it happens over a long, long period of time because you started with nothing. You started with just that hard rock to begin with. And as you see here, this first picture in A is a retreating glacier, so that ice sheet showing bare rock and nothing lives there. Then our pioneer species come in. These are called lichens and mosses. They actually break down the rock, causing the rock to become into small particles, and when the dead material, when they die off and decompose and then mix with the broken up rock minerals, it creates that soil. And the soil starts to create over many years, and then it gets deep enough for mosses and small grasses to grow, and then insects and other organisms will start to move in, enriching the area, and over time even more plants can come in and a new ecosystem is developed. So pioneer species are those first species to grow and live in a new ecosystem where there's now bare rock. So they help start the process, and they would be right here at picture D, and here's an up and close picture of what lichens and mosses look like. Secondary succession happens after like a major event. So an ecosystem was already there, and then we have either a natural catastrophic event like a forest fire destroys an ecosystem or severely damages it, and then it has to regrow. So it has to come back. So this is like its second coming. That's why it's called secondary succession. The second time that an ecosystem has to redevelop. So here's two visual aids to help us understand secondary succession. Here's an example of two different farms. So if a farm was left abandoned and they didn't use it anymore, eventually life would come back. So with secondary succession, things happen a little faster. The growth and change happens because soil was already there. And then climax community happens at the end of both of these kinds of successions, primary and secondary, when a new ecosystem comes to sustainability. And there's a lot of biodiversity, lots of animals and plants now live in the area. So make sure to include that definition right there So here are my resources, students. Make sure you write down all your notes again, watch the video twice, and we'll be talking about all this more in detail in class. And if you have any questions, please let us know.